Listen carefully, because what you're about to hear is not meant for conversation. It is not meant to be explained. Not meant to be debated. And definitely not meant to be shared too early. This is something you live. Something you protect. Something you allow to grow, in silence. Because the moment you speak too soon about what is forming inside you, you weaken it. You expose it to opinions that were never strong enough to build anything themselves. You invite doubt into a space that requires certainty. And slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to question what you once believed with clarity. That is how most people lose. Not because they lack ability. Not because they lack opportunity. But because they lack silence. Understand this deeply. Everything powerful begins quietly. The strongest roots grow underground. The most important changes happen unseen. And the greatest transformations never announce themselves in the beginning. Noise impresses people. But silence builds results. So from this moment forward, you make a decision. You will not speak about what you are building until it is strong enough to stand on its own. You will not explain your vision to those who have never created anything. You will not trade your certainty for temporary validation. You will build, quietly. Tonight is not just another night. Tonight, you are entering something different. A state most people touch, but never understand. A space between awareness and sleep. Where the mind becomes open. Receptive. Unguarded. And in that state, whatever you impress upon your mind becomes instruction. Your subconscious does not argue. It does not analyze. It does not reject. It obeys. Exactly. That is why this matters. Because if you enter this state with fear, your mind builds more fear. If you enter it with doubt, your mind builds more doubt. But if you enter it with certainty, with calm belief, with quiet confidence, your mind begins to organize your reality around it. Not randomly. Not emotionally. But precisely. Most people never use this. Not because it doesn't work. But because they don't control what they think about before they sleep. They carry stress into rest. They replay problems instead of directing solutions. They end the day in confusion. And expect clarity in the morning. That is not how it works. The final minutes before sleep are the most important minutes of your entire day. Because what you hold in your mind during those moments continues working all night long. So tonight, you change the pattern. You don't go to sleep with noise. You don't go to sleep with worry. You don't go to sleep with pressure. You go to sleep with direction. Say this silently. I am calm. I am in control. My mind is clear. Everything meant for me is already moving toward me. Feel that. Don't rush it. Don't force it. Just let it settle. Because the subconscious responds to feeling, not logic. Repetition with emotion becomes belief. And belief becomes reality. Here's where everything changes. Most people think they need proof before they believe. But the truth is, belief comes first. Always. The average mind says, I'll believe it when I see it. But the disciplined mind says, because I believe it, I will see it. That one shift separates struggle from flow. From this moment forward, you stop chasing outcomes. You start aligning with them. You stop forcing results. You start allowing them. You stop explaining your path. You start walking it. And something interesting begins to happen. Your energy changes. Your thoughts become more organized. Your decisions become sharper. Your presence becomes calmer. You don't feel rushed anymore. You don't feel scattered anymore. You feel certain. That certainty is power. Not loud power. Not aggressive power. Quiet power. The kind that doesn't need attention. Because it creates results. People will start noticing. They won't know what changed. But they'll feel it. They'll see it in the way you speak. In the way you move. In the way you no longer react to everything. And they'll ask questions. What are you doing differently? And you will smile. Not because you don't have an answer. But because you understand something they don't yet. Not everything needs to be explained. Some things need to be protected. Because the moment you explain your belief to someone who doesn't share it, you weaken it. Not instantly. But gradually. Their doubt becomes a question in your mind. And once your mind starts questioning, your direction starts shifting. So you stay silent. Not out of fear. But out of discipline. Now listen carefully. Because this is where most people go wrong. They think success comes from doing more. More talking. More planning. More explaining. More effort. But real success comes from alignment. When your thoughts are scattered. Your results are scattered. When your thoughts are focused. Your results become precise. The mind is not just something you use. It is something that creates. Every thought you repeat is a command. Every belief you hold is a blueprint. And your life is the result of what you have consistently impressed upon it. So tonight, you become intentional. You don't let random thoughts take over. You choose what stays. You choose what grows. Let go of fear. Let go of pressure. Let go of the need to control everything. Because control is not power. Clarity is. And clarity comes from stillness. From silence. From a mind that is not constantly reacting. But consciously directing. So before you sleep tonight, you remind yourself. I am not chasing anything. I am aligning with everything meant for me. My mind is working for me, even while I rest. And then, you let go. Because while you sleep, your mind will continue. It will organize. It will align. It will build. Quietly. Powerfully. Inevitably. And when you wake up, you may not see massive changes immediately. But you will feel something different. A calm. A clarity. A quiet confidence. That is the beginning. And as days pass, that feeling grows. Your decisions improve. Your focus strengthens. Your results begin to shift. Not because of luck. But because of law. And when it starts happening, remember this. You don't talk about it. You don't explain it. You don't try to prove it. You let it grow. You let it build. You let it become undeniable. Because real success never needs to announce itself. It simply appears. And as this state continues to settle within you, something becomes very clear. You no longer feel the need to rush. Because rushing is a sign of doubt. And doubt is a signal of misalignment. You understand now that everything you are building requires space. Not pressure. Not noise. Not constant explanation. Space. Because in space, things grow correctly. Think about it. Every strong structure begins unseen. Every powerful shift begins internally. Every lasting result begins quietly. So you allow that process. You do not interfere with it by overthinking. You do not disturb it by speaking too soon. You do not weaken it by seeking approval. You protect it. Because what you are building is not small. It is not temporary. It is not fragile. Unless you treat it that way. And most people do. They interrupt their own progress by needing others to understand it. They explain too early. They share too much. They expose something that has not yet developed strength. And in doing so, they lose momentum. You will not make that mistake. You will hold your focus. You will maintain your direction. And most importantly, you will remain internally stable, regardless of external noise. Because the outside world will always have opinions. It will always have distractions. It will always have uncertainty. But none of that matters. If your internal state remains controlled. That is your responsibility. Not controlling everything around you, but controlling how you respond to it. This is where discipline becomes real. Not in action, but in reaction. Anyone can act when they feel good. But very few can remain steady, when things feel uncertain. And that is where your advantage is built. You are learning to stay calm, without conditions. You are learning to stay focused, without pressure. You are learning to move forward, without needing constant reassurance. And that changes everything. Because now, your progress is no longer dependent on circumstances. It is driven by your state. And your state is becoming consistent. This consistency creates trust. Not from others, but within yourself. You begin to trust your decisions. You begin to trust your timing. You begin to trust your ability to figure things out, without panic. And that self-trust is power. Real power. Not loud. Not visible. But unshakable. From this point forward, you stop questioning every step. You stop second-guessing your direction. You stop looking outside for confirmation. Because you understand. Clarity does not come from outside voices. It comes from internal stillness. And you are developing that stillness now. Moment by moment. Thought by thought. Choice by choice. So continue. Stay quiet. Stay aware. Stay in control. Because what you are creating is forming exactly as it should. Part 3. And now, you begin to notice something subtle. Your energy is different. Not dramatically. Not in a way that demands attention. But in a way that creates presence. A grounded presence. A calm certainty. A quiet confidence, that does not need to prove anything. This is the shift. The shift from effort, to alignment. From chasing, to allowing. From reacting, to directing. And once this shift happens, you cannot go back. Because you have seen the difference. You have felt the stability. You have experienced what it means, to be in control of your internal world. And that changes how you move. Now, you do not waste energy on unnecessary thoughts. You do not engage in distractions that pull you away from your focus. You do not react emotionally to temporary situations. Because you understand. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everything deserves your response. And most importantly, not everything deserves your energy. So you become selective. Very selective. You choose where your mind goes. You choose what you focus on. You choose what you allow to influence you. Because you now see clearly. Your life is shaped by these choices. Not occasionally. But consistently. Every thought is a direction. Every belief is a command. Every action is a reinforcement. And over time, these patterns create outcomes. Predictable outcomes. So you take responsibility. Fully. Without excuses. Without blame. Without hesitation. Because responsibility gives you control. And control gives you direction. And direction creates results. Now your actions become cleaner. More precise. More intentional. You do less, but achieve more. Because you are no longer scattered. You are aligned. And alignment multiplies effectiveness. At this level, you stop measuring progress in noise. You stop looking for constant validation. You stop needing visible signs to feel confident. Because your confidence is internal. It is built on consistency. On discipline. On trust in your own process. And that kind of confidence cannot be shaken by outside opinions. So when challenges appear, you remain steady. Not because they are easy, but because you are prepared. Prepared mentally. Prepared emotionally. Prepared structurally. And preparation removes fear. Now you respond, instead of react. You think, before you act. You stay calm, when others panic. And that alone puts you ahead of most people. Because the majority operates on impulse. On emotion. On reaction. But you operate on awareness. On clarity. On control. And that difference compounds. Day by day. Decision by decision. Until eventually, the results begin to show. Not suddenly. Not loudly. But clearly. And when they do, you will remember this. You will remember the silence. You will remember the discipline. You will remember the moments where you chose control over reaction. And you will understand. This is where it was built. Not in the spotlight. Not in front of others. But here. In stillness. In focus. In silence. So continue. Do not rush the process. Do not interrupt your growth. Do not explain what is not yet ready to be seen. Just build. Quietly. Consistently. Powerfully. And let your results speak when the time is right. And now, everything becomes even more refined. You are no longer trying to control everything around you. You are mastering what is within you. Because you understand something most people never realize. External control is an illusion. Internal control is power. And once you fully shift into that understanding, life begins to respond differently. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your reactions are no longer automatic. Your thoughts are no longer scattered. Your energy is no longer wasted. Everything becomes intentional. Every move you make has direction. Every decision you take has clarity. Every action you perform has purpose. And this level of intention creates precision. Precision in thinking. Precision in speaking. Precision in execution. And precision eliminates confusion. Now you are no longer overwhelmed by too many options. You see clearly what matters, and what doesn't. You move toward what aligns. And you ignore what distracts. This is where your strength multiplies. Because most people are not weak. They are simply distracted. They divide their focus. They scatter their energy. They lose themselves in unnecessary noise. But you have stepped out of that cycle. You are no longer reacting to everything. You are choosing what deserves your attention. And that choice is everything. Because attention creates reality. Whatever you consistently focus on begins to expand. So now, you focus wisely. You focus on growth. You focus on clarity. You focus on progress. Not perfection. Progress. Because perfection delays action. Progress creates momentum. And momentum builds results. At this stage, patience becomes natural. You are not forcing outcomes. You are allowing them to develop. You trust timing. Not blindly, but with understanding. Because you now see that everything follows a sequence. First, thought. Then, belief. Then, action. Then, result. And if the result is not yet visible, it does not mean it is not forming. It simply means it is still in process. So you remain steady. You do not panic. You do not doubt. You do not interrupt the process with fear. Because you know, consistency over time is unstoppable. And you are consistent now. Not occasionally. Not when you feel motivated. But daily. Silently. Discipline has replaced motivation. Structure has replaced randomness. Clarity has replaced confusion. And this is where real transformation happens. Not in sudden bursts. But in quiet repetition. Small actions, done correctly, again and again. Until they become automatic. Until they become identity. And once something becomes identity, it becomes permanent. You no longer have to force it. You no longer have to think about it. You simply become it. This is who you are now. A person who does not rush. A person who does not panic. A person who does not react unnecessarily. A person who observes. Who thinks. Who acts with intention. And that identity will carry you forward. Even when things are uncertain. Even when challenges appear. Even when progress feels slow. Because your foundation is strong. Built in silence. Strengthened through discipline. Protected through awareness. And now, it cannot be easily shaken. This is the advantage of moving quietly. You build without interference. You grow without pressure. You develop without distraction. And when the time comes, everything reveals itself naturally. Without force. Without announcement. Without explanation. Because real results do not need words. They are seen. They are felt. They are undeniable. And when that moment arrives, you will not feel surprised. You will feel prepared. Because you have been building this, all along. Step by step. Thought by thought. In silence. So continue. Do not break your focus. Do not rush your progress. Do not seek validation. Stay grounded. Stay clear. Stay disciplined. And let everything unfold. Exactly as it is meant to. Because what you are building now is not temporary success. It is a permanent mindset. A mindset that creates success, again and again. Without noise. Without pressure. Without doubt. Just clarity. Just control. Just quiet power. Now remain in that state. And keep moving, forward, in silence.